Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Life Talks. I'm really excited to have today's guest, Alex Vivanco. Alex, thanks for joining me, bro.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I met you through Grounding Camp, which is an event hosted by Elliot Hulse. Um, Maybe if you can start by sharing, what drew you to his work, and what did you gain out of that experience?
Right. Well, what drew me to his work was just following his YouTube channel for the past few weeks, past few years, and like anything else, man, I was going through the divorce at the time, and I was feeling lost as a man, and I knew it would be a great place to reground myself with a group of other guys doing some crazy shit that I didn't even really know what we would do, but I just knew it'd be a great spot to be, and well worth the investment. It was the greatest investment I ever made in my life, also, man. But the number one thing that I got out of that was when we were doing like an hour long active meditation. First, we were doing some deep breathing for like 10 minutes. And then after that, we were doing the chaotic freaking dancing and movement. We were just screaming, ah, I'm forever going crazy. Then after that, we had to do this crazy ass jump. Was it the jump that was after? The
Yeah,
it was at that moment, dude, when you're doing this for 10 minutes after 20 minutes of the other exercise I just told you, I started to get really tired in the shoulders. And Elliot's like, keep your arms up as high as you can.
yeah.
Don't bring them down. And you're just fighting that burn, fighting that burn. And then all of a sudden, like halfway through that, my arms wanted to crush down, dude. I started envisioning Jesus. I started envisioning Jesus coming to me and being a part of me. And all of a sudden, being with me, holding up my hands. And I swear to you, I started to feel so empowered that at one point when I wanted to bring my arms down, I was unstoppable. I was just, and bro, I felt the power of Jesus Christ that day. And I did not bring my arms down, man. And that was like 30 minutes of pure exercise. And my arms did not come down, dude. That was like one of the craziest experiences I got from grounding kid.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's like, one of the videos that I saw from him a while back was just like what the world does is you're in a 9 to 5, you're in a cubicle, you're we're in a contracted state. And when he's doing all these things, you're moving your body, you're going like this, and then you're going into calm. The life is not just, it's not meant to be boxed in like that. A life is crazy. It's got those ups and downs. And I feel like that those meditations that he was doing, some of them were just, you're moving your body, you're going like crazy, you're getting in, like you're getting you're connecting with your body. It's like that's what you were like when you were a kid. You're running around, you're dancing, you're playing, you're let it all out. We have those angers, those frustrations. We have problems with people in our life that we maybe we didn't have the words to say, or because we're not fully expressive beings. And
Right, right.
yeah, so I really, I really resonate with that because it's that energy gets locked in our bodies, and if we're not moving around,
Mm-hmm.
then you're weird if you do that, right? If you walk outside and just do that, so society wants to, and then we're afraid to really express that, and then I think it can really go into the unconscious, and then, um, I think, for me too, what was really powerful was make your yeses yes and your no's no's. I think that might have been the first one that we did.
Yeah, that was a powerful
Yeah,
exercise.
yeah, we talked a little bit off camera about a lot of the decisions that are pushed, especially in the political world that's going on. And for the sake of this video, I won't dive into those, but those who follow me know what I'm talking about. When you're forced to make a decision, yes or no, with something that you don't necessarily agree with, your no should be your no. If it's coming from your heart, and if it's coming from, your highest self, not that you're a conspiracy theorist, but you trust yourself on a deep level. And I think on the deepest level that we truly are is we're loving beings, and that when we're in that place, we don't use guilt and shame and fear to make people make decisions. The right decisions, we don't have to manipulate other people's views, because the the best things in life don't have to be pushed; they sell themselves. So,
Mm.
um,
You
you
could
know,
feel it with the heart.
yeah, yeah,
You could,
and
you could, yeah, you could feel a lot of truth with your heart.
yeah, and that I feel like that's the fight of life too, right? It's like the fight between intuition and knowledge. Because I
Right.
can tell you 50 different articles. Well, this says this, and that says that, and who do you trust this? And that's the mind. But we're so, I feel like, disconnected from our true intuition that it's hard to tell the difference. So it's easy to label someone as crazy, which someone might be crazy, right? It's not to say that there aren't crazy people in the world, and but there's also people who are rooted in truth. That's a very rare being. I've come to my experience, and finding that different that difference between people.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So taking a step back, I actually should ask this first, but that picture behind you,
Hmm.
that's actually a reflection of your story, which you had shared. For people who
Yeah.
don't know you and people who are listening, like on Spotify, it's maybe if you could just paint the picture for people who are listening, and then what that story represents in your life.
Absolutely. So the picture behind me is a painting that I made a few years ago, before doing this seminar called "Jump Out the Boat." Picture is of a boat and someone jumping out of it through a hole into an ocean with a shark, an octopus, and then a treasure chest behind the shark. And it's an actual real, well, it's a metaphor for something similar that I went through in life. Uh, Now, the picture came from a real situation, um, where I actually jumped out of a boat on the Hudson River, as a motivational, entertaining stunt that was truly a passion of mine. And what ended up happening eventually was the video went viral. And when the video went viral, it was when I first experienced the media being super negative, lying, and manipulating. And they basically turned that video into saying, oh, I'm this crazy Mohawk loon. They lied about my age. They said I got arrested, this and that. They just basically tried to bash me and make fun of me. But it was one of the greatest days of my life because it was then where I was living at my pinnacle of my purpose. I was so fueled with passion and love for life and motivation to help others to do and be whatever they want. And I was just doing that by giving an example of me doing and being whatever I wanted, whatever my vision was that enlightened my heart, that burned my heart with passion. And but before I even get to now, if we look at the painting is really about finding purpose. So when that news story broke out, and I realized that they tried to bash me, just like many mainstream media news outlets try to do with people, right? Um, I started to really reflect, like, man, what is this? There's a gift in this. Because at that time, I was already in the mindset, like, boom, there's always a gift in the negative or in the abnormality. This is an abnormality. And so I started to put it together, like, wow, wait, hold up. Some of the craziest people in the world with the greatest inventions, the greatest discoveries, they have been called crazy. Just like this mainstream media was trying to call me crazy for jumping out of a, which it was. It freaking was. It was absolutely nuts to do that. What made me do that, I believe, was connection with God and a vision. And I believe it was meant to be, bro. It was meant to be because I remember on the day that I pulled up to the Hudson River in Weehawken with my boys who were going to film me. I stood on some dock just staring at the water. It was the perfect winter day. That's one thing I didn't realize. It was a 70-degree winter day, bro. I saw the freaking boat crossing the river. The sun was glistening. The water was glistening. Everything was so beautiful. And I felt this high vibration in my being telling me, yes, this is the way to go, Alex. You're going to do this. You're going to be okay. And so that to me was my proof, or my, after the fact that I realized that it was God talking to me. Um, but in any case, what I realized during that crazy time after when the main story broke out was, whoa, this is a metaphor for how I kind of found my purpose and got to this place. And so the way I found my purpose was I started off as a normal guy, which is the picture of the boat. If you see the boat, the name of the boat is called normal.
Hmm.
I was a I was a union carpenter. I had an average size home, family, average income. And I realized one day, now this is before the boat incident, that I wanted to do a lot more to my life because I wanted to prove to my kids that anything was possible. Our kids will follow in our footsteps more than they will in our advice. So I needed to do more. So I said, all right, I'm going to go for my highest potential. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to figure it out. So one day I realized that on the other side of your biggest fear is your biggest growth. Now, this was on a long 18-hour drive from Florida to New Jersey, heading to my high school reunion. And I just quit my job. I just got laid off 3 months ago, and I made a promise I would never go back because I was going to force myself to become an entrepreneur and be my own businessman and control my own schedule. And so I started to think on this long guy's drive by myself. I got into deep thought and reflection, and I remember this quote that went, "On the other side of your biggest fear is your biggest growth." So I said, damn, I'm in a position where I need to grow. So I have to face my biggest fear. Piece of cake, I'm going to do it, right? Let's do it. There it is. Once I realized what my biggest fear was, I was like, no way, I could never do it. Fuck that. It was too scary for me because my biggest fear was a secret that I kept my whole life, something that it would be a nightmare come to life if I revealed. But and then I really started to think deep and realize, whoa, this has been holding me back. Who could I become if I faced this fear? And then all of a sudden, I started getting this crazy vision in my mind, and my body started to vibrate, dude. My body was so electrified that I felt like I could light up a whole freaking city. I saw the vision of myself helping other kids that had the same problem as I did, my biggest fear. And I saw that if I faced it, I could truly be myself and be and actually be special. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. Like for the first time in my life, I was 28 years old and I realized, whoa, if I face this biggest fear, I could actually feel special,
And
dude.
I cut you
I
off right
never,
there because I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like that's a really important point, right? Because I think that holds a lot of people back. It's like, at least I speak on my own experience. It's like you to be special, right? We are special. We should be. And to your point, you made that good distinction, right? It's like, well, how do we be special without that ego, right, Trip? Where it's like it's all about me, me, me. And in my experience, it's been you're shining your light. You're so focused on just being that it's not about you don't care if you're in the spotlight or not. You're not thinking. You're not in that thinking mind. You're in that being mind. Does that
yeah,
resonate?
bro. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So when I realized my biggest fear, which was this, my biggest fear was revealing to the world this hole that I have in my chest. See, my chest caves in right there. You see how it caves in?
Yeah.
Bro, I hated that growing up my entire life. I programmed. I thought something was wrong with me. I felt totally weird. I was afraid of taking my shirt off. I missed so many summers, so many pool parties. My relationships were all awkward and messed up because I was never being the real me. Subconsciously, I was always putting a facade on. And in any case, when I realized that this, if I revealed it, I could help other kids to face this fear and to be a role model. That's when I realized, holy shit, I'm not just an average guy. I could be someone truly special. And I mean that with the highest of like um, humility. We all have a special gift, man, and a special path. We really do. And I believe, when we find that, we realize that, man, like you really come to reality, like, whoa, I'm actually special. Like we all are. And not in an egotistical way, but we all are actually special once we find that path and that life's purpose, man. And so I'll wrap up the story, the picture, the painting behind me. The painting is of a guy jumping out of a boat, which means to face your biggest fear. And then when you do jump out of your the boat towards your biggest fear through the hole, which I literally had a hole in my chest, you find your greatest treasure within, which is your purpose or, you know, um, your light within. And then in the painting, you see that the gold from the treasure chest in the water shines up to the sky and it reveals all of these great inventions and discoveries. Like you have the Bible, you have a microphone for speakers and musicians, you have the Statue of Liberty, you have, your inventions, that light bulb there, you know. At the time, I put down Disney because of the creative genius that Walt Disney had. You know what
I
I
love
mean?
it is at the time because now it's so corrupt.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. Now it's crazy.
arguably
Now
because
it's
there's still
crazy.
gems from our childhood. I feel like Lion King.
But yeah, man, basically you face your biggest fear, jump out of normal, you'll find some great treasure within, you'll find your special purpose that'll give to the world in the greatest way.
Yeah, man, dude, that's powerful. We spoke a little bit off camera. I mentioned with what's going on with YouTube. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I had a video that was banned, and I used to like, oh, you know what, maybe I'm going to change what I'm going to say, and I gotta worry about that. And you know, when I had that video banned, I said, you know what, the first video I'll make when I come back is, I believe what I'm doing is God's purpose, or for people who are not religious, or it's just following truth as I come to understand it, and what is the in my core shining my light. I'm not looking to offend other people. I'm not looking to hurt other people. I'm trying to seek the truth. And the truth is it can be very painful as you go through it. And what I see is that shark is something that it's like, are you worthy to really seek that truth? Are
Mm,
so when I it's about flipping those negatives into positives, right? And that's what you did
yeah,
with that hole in your chest, right? It's like, oh,
yeah,
well, everybody wants to hide that, right? Everybody thinks that, oh, well, I don't have issues that I'm insecure about. Everybody does. And when you own those, when you flip those negatives into positives, that's where you get that gold, right? So
yeah,
so I heard recently on a podcast I did, it's like resistance is it's like a video game. It's like when you have resistance, like you're leveling up. It's potential to level up. And if we go through that resistance, yeah, we get that gold. So I really resonate with that part of your story.
yeah.
I see your
Appreciate it.
shirt, the abnormal, right? Is that part of abnormal? Maybe if you can just go into that, is that your brand, and what that means to you?
Yeah, Abnormal is my social media company, Born to Live Abnormal LLC. So I've been making uh, social media videos for small businesses and personal brands. So my goal is, to help others to find their purpose and their special abnormality and bringing it to light, bringing it to help others in the world because, um, you know, because that was one of the things I saw in my vision, man. In my vision, I said, "Wow, if I have this hole in my chest and I could turn it into a special gift, then that means everybody else has some sort of hole or insecurity, whether it's mental, spiritual, or some flaw or some negative, and they could use that to help others that can also relate." So that was the that was my whole that was my whole vision. My whole vision on that day was, boom, I'm gonna help kids out with practice excavatum to have this hole in my chest, which I have successfully done on YouTube. But then I'm also going to build this brand to help others turn their holes into gifts as well.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. It's like what they say, the healing is in the wound, right? Like, so that's when you go into that, you face that. We spoke off camera a little bit. Maybe we can shift into that. We talk about positive thinking. We talk about the different pills of life, the blue pill, red pill. I mentioned black pill and the white pill. For those who are listening, everybody's gonna have different views on the pills, but I look at the blue pill as just the naive. We've also, most of us have seen the Matrix, but it's blue pill.
Yeah,
Just you just see it through. It's all sunshine and rainbows, and and then shifting to the red pill is like, oh, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's there's deep dark fears in us. There's insecurities. There's pain. There's heartbreak. There's all these things, and we hurt each other, and you know, um, that dark side that we have to integrate. And I call the black pill is like when you have nothing to hang on to. When you realize that you have to walk your path alone. You don't, there's the media doesn't tell the truth, and people are going to let you down, and you start really going as a dark place yourself, where it's just like, how many people have you let down? Where is your weak spots, your hypocrisy? Where is your sin, your ignorance, right? Not seeing the bigger picture, because the blue pill is that naive part. And when those red pill people come in your life, those are the sharks, right? Because we're sharks on a certain level to each other, right? That we have a shark, we have a sheep within us. There's different analogies I like to use, but the Christ within us is the lion, the one who has taken all that black pill, that negative, right, and faced it head on. So maybe if we can dive in, does that resonate with you? And the shifting, because I think one of the reasons I made this was it's the positive thinking shit. It's a lot of it's fake, and the real positivity goes through the negative, not pretending to be positive.
yeah, yeah. I think this life is so well built for us to awaken spiritually. And I think all of that resistance and darkness, man, is all for us. It's all for us to tap into the power of our minds and to convert it into good. I think if we focus on the negativity and the darkness, man, we're gonna fall into that because that's what our mind is focused on. But I believe our mind, its main power is backed by Christ consciousness. And really, what better way to develop our power as spiritual beings than being in a dark world? What better way? What better challenge? Why have it easy? How can we ever learn to be truly spiritual beings in control of our power without any darkness? So, I think we're here to freaking develop that power, man. There's going to be some shit that hits the fan in the next coming years. I think it's only going to get darker and darker, but I think that's because it's matching up with our level of spiritual
Mm,
evolution. We need it to be darker because we need more of a challenge. And there's going to be a group of people that don't make it, right? But I think there's also going to be a group of people that freaking thrive and
yeah.
excel, man. Those people are going to be the spiritual people, the spiritual beings that are able to control their focus and their desires and their emotions and their oneness and their peace and happiness from their mind and really dictate what comes to them, the abundance they see. Everything that the Bible teaches us, man, everything that the Bible teaches us, faith, right? Having a spirit of joy, happiness, and just, living through that darkness, man.
What led you to the Bible? So, because in my own experience, again, like another one of the reasons I made this channel is because I want to breathe life into religion and avoid
Yeah,
religionism, right? It's so easy for people like, I'm Christian, I'm this, I'm that. It's all ego. I don't believe that what makes someone Christian or Catholic, my father always used to say, your actions speak so loud I can barely hear a word you're saying. And what I've heard recently is that even more than actions, it's your vibration, right? It's because you can do the right things all the time, but how many of us can say that we're so in our actions that we're actually providing presence? Our presence is the
right.
gift, and then that action, it's a byproduct of how we see the world. So
It's
um
our aura.
yeah, and that's some real shit. When you're around somebody who you just click with, the conversations aren't forced. That's been a practice for me too, because it's like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if I thought I was going to be making a podcast talking about Christ as much as I do, I'd be laughing. Be like, hey, are you kidding me? I was so stuck in porn and addiction and like just this depressing, weak part of me that was afraid to shine because, whatever, weak programming, a lot from culture. But at the end of the day, I had to take responsibility for my own life and shine and heal that within myself. So
Yeah,
um,
bro. And I
my
love
goal,
how you
go
did
ahead.
that, man, with Born Again Men, man. I think that brand is spectacular, dude. I really think you're
Yeah.
doing a good job, man. I think you got something going there with that, brother. So
Yeah, I
keep it up with
appreciate
that, man.
that. The Born Again Men really just came because it's in being on Facebook and Instagram, all these social media, what I see in the world is there's that hunger for masculinity, and that comes out of my own experience of not being the man that I was capable of. I was a weak man, and when the idea of born again is it doesn't feel. I always think of David Goggins where he said, how much it sucks when you have to go back and say, back there I lied to you. I lied to you. Because we lie to each other every single day. We those little small white lies, right? We're just like, how you doing? I'm good. Are you good? Are you really good? Or are you're really sad and you're insecure? And then what we do is we cover ourselves up because we can't share that with everybody because we live in this keeping up with the Joneses world, right? We have to appear as if we're always good. But what's interesting is that we talk about that negative and positivity. Once you're really kind of naked, metaphorically, you get to really see who the real ones are in your life. You're going to see the ones who are with you on your bottom. You're going to see the ones who really believe in you, and then when you realize, at least for my experience, when there's not a lot of people who believe in that higher calling, it forces you to go into that dark place and realize that a lot of people don't believe in themselves. And when you really see that shit, man, it's really, I feel like that's the shift between because I know like a lot of people are like, look at all my haters, right? It's like making everybody else the enemy. I think it's more of just that lower consciousness. People don't believe in themselves, their heart. And to me, that born again man, the most growth I've had in my life is that shark in that background right there. It's when all those negative things come up and then you have to face them. And that's a pain. It's
Hmm.
painful. It's a death. It really is a death. To me, it's a form of crucifixion. Man must be
Yeah,
born again. You have to, and
yeah.
that rebirth is a process of seeing that world and allowing those negatives to come up and to go into them. And we spoke off camera. That's what Christ did. He took the crucifixion and said, he welcomed the doorway to death. So maybe if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could, we'll
I
dive
think,
more into that.
yeah, and I think a lot of Jesus. A lot of people often say, yeah, Jesus is the way and the light, as it says in the Bible. And but one thing I don't think people are what I believe. I think what we're supposed to do is actually be similar to Jesus. Jesus sacrificed himself. He sacrificed his ego and he was crucified for others. In a way, we have to do the same exact thing. I know he died for our sins, right? And we are forgiven.
Yeah.
But at the same time, still, man, we've got to, do the same thing he did, I believe, and which is, carry our cross, man, carry our cross and
What is our
sacrifice.
cross?
Everyone has a different cross. I believe, I believe my cross was the hole in my chest. I've got to freaking open it, reveal it, show it to the world, turn it into a gift. And our cross is our biggest insecurities and our fears. It's that shark, man. It's facing that shark. And you asked me before what got me into the Bible, and what got me into the Bible, I believe, was facing the cross that I believe I have to carry today and for the future. And I got into the Bible when I got divorced, man. When I was getting divorced, and the reason why I was getting divorced was because I owned up to my mistakes as a husband, as a man in my marriage through sexual sin, infidelity. And, you know, it, I remember the day that I moved out, or like a week later, I was in my brother's home in a room the size of, it was like 5 foot by 8 feet, a small little twin size bed. I'm sitting there on the side of the bed, and the door's right here, a little bathroom there, and my life had completely changed and flipped. I went from being a family man, community man, having these friends and family to feeling so alone, having lost it all. Like my identity truly shifted and changed. I was no longer this version of me that I was for the past 10 years. And I was in so much pain, Mike, so much spiritual pain from this separation and from the embarrassment and shame of my sin, dude, that it brought me to the ground in tears, a puddle of my tears, full of shame. Dude, I did not see a life for me in the future. I was like, I cannot live like this. How am I gonna live like this? There's no coming back from this. And it was during that darkest hour, dude, where I didn't see a future, there was no way I could move on, where I saw another vision of Christ, or it was the first vision of Christ that I saw. Christ came to me in a vision and he said, Alex, it's okay. You're not alone. I still love you and you still have a purpose. And from there, man, that vision calmed me down, dude, and it gave me a little bit of hope. And then from there, I started going to church. My buddy invited me to a church, and I remember singing this gospel song, right? I was so hurt and distraught. I felt like a broken ass man, dude. Um, and there was this gospel song, and it was saying something like, God can still loves you, or there's still hope. You could still be redeemed. It just brought me so much hope, man. That church really gave me hope for the future, man. And it's what brought me into the Bible, got me into reading it, and man, I just fell in love with the Bible, man. After that, and realized it's so much more. There's so many teachings in this Bible and metaphors. Like there's so much more to it than the words, man. Like there's hidden truths in there that I believe it's up to us to decipher and to figure out and to interpret in our own unique voice. So
What you just, first of all, respect, because the guests that I have on this show, to me, it's about sharing your shit. And this is a place where we don't judge people. We don't judge, but the fact that you take responsibility of that weakness and take ownership, to me, is a sign of a real man, because it really, it takes guts to share that shit. But the other thing is, what I also appreciate is it's the action. And before I would get into the action, because your actions to me are also a sign of repentance, right? It's not just like, hey, this is because what I've noticed is life can easily become this, like, it likes us to live in the victim. I struggle with pornography. Would love for us to live in the past and bring us down and live there. And oh, poor me. We can get a lot of satisfaction from living there. I'm not saying at all that that's what you're doing, but I realized in my own experience that was, I would share my pain with people, and it's like people like when you're in pain because it puts you down here. How many people are excited for you to excel above them? So it's a very rare being who really wants that, because a rare being knows that everyone's gift, as you said, is different. And when you shine, it's actually an opportunity for me to shine. And that's something I was never really taught as a kid. And one thing I really wanted to dive into, because this is really what I want to share with other like-minded men, is that, nobody taught, at least for me growing up, the whole, what's sex about? We have sex ed, right? And it's, what is sex ed? It's like, here's a condom, good luck. That's what I basically got out of it, right? Have safe sex, good luck. I was never taught about the spiritual aspect. I was never taught that, I've heard of terms, quantum entanglement, all these different terms. And on a certain level, they resonate with me because, what we have done as a society is we have separated sex from an act of creation, right? And so how can we have this quick feeling? It's a feeling, and and that feeling is not to be rejected, right? We're in the world, we're part of this world, in the world, but not of it. But how many of us can truly say we're not of the world? And to me, when I hear you with the idea of infidelity, I see myself in the sense that, well, when I'm watching porn, right, I would do that in relationships. And to me, I want to be the version, not where I'm shaming other people for watching porn. This is not, but I have to walk my own path. I was shameful for me, of my own actions, because my highest self knows that I want a true love with one woman. and to have that in the fullest way possible, in the most realist, raunchiest way. But that was so, it was so sacred with just that one woman, right? But nobody, how do you do that? How do you learn about love? And I feel like this is why I've had such a hunger to go back into religion, to go back into the Bible, to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we're missing something. Maybe I missed something here. Maybe I shouldn't have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. To throw out that there's really core tenets here. These are deep values, metaphorical values. You have to really study them and examine them, and then it speaks to you in different ways. How many times, you watch a movie and you see just a little different scene, right? After watching it again. Oh, I missed that. I missed that. Oh, that means that. I see different, like I look at Lion King. It's one of my favorites. I see these little different things. So
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
reason I bring all that up is, what I've seen is that it came to me as you were saying that, is that what we've lacked as men is like initiation into masculinity. And
Mm,
to me, that's really, it's really, I mentioned the black pill. It's going into that dark place, but without becoming a dark person. That's a hard thing to do. And I think it's only people who have gone through that. So you go into that dark place like a warrior. You go into that dark, mean, brutal place, but you don't become toxic. You don't become mean. You don't become dark. It's a transmutation process, right? It's going into that. Christ sweat blood. We want to talk about hippie Christ all the time. That's what the media wants to talk about. That's whatever. Oh, love everybody. Love, 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 love. Well, what about that dark part of us? What about, and how do we integrate that? So, again, when I hear you speak on that, um, you know, that what I hear with that, with the infidelity, is your soul's hunger to get closer with God, because it's so many men can just say, well, everybody else is getting married, so I'll get married and then I'll have kids because that's what the world's doing. So I'm just going to do that because that's just what people do. And instead of really growing closer with God, truth, who are you truly? And then you attract that woman into your life. And
mhm.
you don't even have to, you're not on dating apps. You're not on any of this shit. It just happens. But we have such a lack of trust. Sorry to take all that, like, because that really resonates.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I don't think I would have ever found God if I didn't face my darkness. So I think that's a necessary part of the path. Facing your darkness, facing your evils, your ugliness, so that you can feel that pain, man. Go through that adversity and, then really be open, begin the journey to finding God. I could have ran away from that truth, right? I could have lived a lie. I could have, you know, um, but I would have never came closer to God. I would have never had an opportunity to feel all that pain, see that vision of Jesus, and you know, end up going on these long ass runs or feeling all this dark energy, that it was killing me inside. And because I didn't want to unleash this negative energy in a wrong way, I decided to fast for 30 days to kill off this negative energy. And part of what you were saying is how do we integrate that dark energy, man? And I think that dark energy could be very useful, you know, and depending on how you use it, you know, you could use it for things that are productive to you, man, and that are helpful to you. At one point, what caused the infidelity was the lack of control of my dark energy.
Mm.
I would get negative and emotional at times, and boom, like I would use that negative energy in a wrong way, man, and
Yeah.
create sin.
That negative energy can just be like, Alex, you're such a great guy. You deserve, like, it can speak to you in that way. It can boost your ego. You're so great. You're on top of the world.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you could freaking, but we all feel that negative energy, man. But I've come to realize, it's about awareness, man. If you let that negative energy control you and you take action off of that, you're gonna make some of the biggest mistakes of your life, even though it's gonna feel good in the moment. They will be the biggest mistakes in your life because any action that's created off of negative energy, like a negative action, it's going to come back with a negative result. But you can take a positive action fueled off of negative energy, man. So like, or you could burn up that negative energy, like there's two ways that I know how to burn up negative energy is through fasting, feeling that pain. What it does is it forces you to go within to your emotions. It forces you to to feel what really hurts, what bothers
Bro,
you. And then
30
if you just
days. go into that. You said 30
Yeah,
days for people listening. 30 fucking days, dude. If you can go into that, what was that process like?
yeah,
What
bro.
sparked that?
I read a book called Fasting. I was doing some electrical work and this lady was fasting for 40 days. I was like, wow, what the hell are you doing? 40 days? That's crazy. So she recommended this book, man. I highly recommend this book. The first few pages lit a fire in my heart, man. I was like, whoa, I want to try this. I mean, at the same time, I was going through the divorce at the time. I was lost and fasted for 4 days. No food, just water. Completely changed my spirit, uplifted my confidence, gave me newfound purpose. There's fire in this. So, and then I decided to go for a long fast at the start of 2020, I believe. I did a 21-day fast. And it talks about how fasting can create blessings and miracles in your life. And I kid you not, halfway through that year, I got one of the biggest miracles of my life, a $50,000 blessing that I did not know was coming. One of the biggest financial miracles that ever occurred to me. And from there, I was like, whoa, it was the fasting, bro. Because what fasting does is it gets you deep into the spirit. And when you're deep into the spirit from fasting and not eating, your prayers are 10 times more powerful because you're more directly connected with God and the Holy Spirit. So as I fasted, I'd pray hardcore for all of my goals, like success, money, this and that. And so when I got that $50,000 check, which came from the sale of a house that I wasn't going to get from the divorce, um, I realized, whoa, I'm going to fast again. So the next year, I said, I'm fasting for 30 days. I'm taking the next step. And so I fasted for 30 days. Now, here's the difference between the 21-day and the 30-day fast. The 21-day fast, it was my first long fast ever. I felt like shit, so weak, physically, mentally, spiritually drained, man. I couldn't even lift groceries on the last day. But on the 30-day fast, bro, I was waiting for that tiredness to come again, right? I was scared of getting into the fast. I knew what I was gonna get into. I knew it was gonna suck. I knew I was gonna be cold. I knew I was gonna be tired. I knew I was gonna be lightheaded and barely being able to walk. But 10 days into the 30-day fast, I'm still waiting for that tiredness to come, and it still hasn't come. All of a sudden, I start getting these powerful ass visions of my life and my future and this high just vibration of excitement, joy, and bliss. And by the 13th day, I'm running. 13th day of not eating, just drinking water. I am running at 10 p.m. at night with my dog in total bliss and excitement.
Shout out to
And I
Oliver.
re yeah, yeah. And I realized that day what God Jesus meant when he said, I am the bread and the life. Man shall not eat off of bread alone. It is through your vision, your mindset, your Christ consciousness, your thoughts are what give you life and energy as they do the opposite. They can give you death, they can give you depression, they can give you illness. They create your reality. Bread, literal bread, does not feed you, right? It can, yeah, obviously can. But what's more powerful than bread that can feed you more is the vision of Christ, the Christ consciousness that's in here. Your imagination alone has the power to fuel your body and your being and your life without any food. And that's what I learned on that fast, 30-day fast. And I literally went to my birthday, 20 days in, feeling great. On my birthday, though, I did crash mentally because it was my birthday and I couldn't have a piece of cake. I made it a rule. I'm not going to have any cake. So I went into my bathroom on my birthday while my family's out there after the birth. I didn't tell them I was fasting. That's one thing I didn't try doing is telling them I was
Well, they
fasting.
it speaks about that in the Bible as well, right? Don't go around like, oh, I'm fasting. It's like another ego trip, right? It's that you're doing it in
Yeah,
private. It's for your own growth.
it, yeah, it's virtue signaling.
Yeah.
When you virtue, oh, I'm fasting for God, this or that,
Yeah.
that is not good. You won't get any blessings that way. But if you do, I did do a 3-day fast recently, and I did express and I did talk about it. But I did it from the mindset and the point of view of wanting to share the experience. I felt called to do it. I was gonna do a 40-day fast this year, but on the first day of the fast, I started like on December 15th. I was on this couch feeling spiritually attacked. Like I was so depressed, so negative. I was shot. Like don't do. My consciousness was just telling me, no, don't do it, Alex. Don't do it. So on that very first day, I'm like, fuck it, I'm not gonna do it. I ate, and I just took some time to realize until I got a better vision. It's like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna do a 3-day fast and do a 3-day fast at the start of every month and share it to help others. So I'm not virtue signaling. I'm not telling people, hey, I'm fasting because
Yeah, no, yeah.
following or whatever. I'm just trying to share the experience. But there's a difference on how you do it. There's a difference on the aura that you give off if you're telling someone you're fasting. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like anything in life. That's the whole, you're doing it for that growth. And I think it's kind of like it's like a training program. It's like working out. You work out and it's like, at least for me at my point in my life, it's like I'm working out to it's like Goggins says, man. It's like I'm training for life. Like, you know, uh I want like I've seen for people listening, watching, it's there. This man has been there's something I really resonate with what you do. Like you're running shirtless in the cold. You're doing 30-day fasts. You're sharing your shit. You to me are like that to me is following Christ. You're denying yourself, you're seeking answers, you're taking responsibility, and like that's to me that again that's a reflection. The answers are found in the pain. You have a smile on. You're passing people in the car while it's snowing outside. I saw your video recently, and you're giving high fives to people passing in the cars. And some people, you
yeah,
know
bro.
what? Some people are going to see that and they go, "What is he doing? Why is he even doing that?" And I always think of what Goggins says: some people get it, some people don't, and the people who get it, you'll get like I want you in my life. I want you to see what I see. It's not about that. And I think at the beginning, if we're all honest, there's a part of us, I think in my own experience, I think we mentioned it off camera. I don't know if I said it earlier in the podcast, but it's like when I was younger and I had I coming out of high school, just again, spoke on sex ed. You got all my muscles. I got all the attention, Jersey Shore programming, and that's what I
Yeah.
got. I had, muscles and girls, and I thought that was what would make me fulfilled. And,
Mhm.
and it was all vanity, but now I go to the gym and it's like, I'm going to get that body back. And it's me against me. I'm not going to go around flashing it. That's not the first thing, but a strong body is a strong mind. We have that. It's on here, right? I got more of my grounding. See it. Your body is your
Oh
mind,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, and
yeah.
that
That's
really
right.
resonated with
That's
me
right, man. That's
too,
right.
right?
And you know what? There's a there's a reason why people are attracted to fit bodies. I believe it's because we become more godlike. You know,
Go into that.
when we're healthier and we're cut up, we're literally cutting through the world, right? We're cutting through the flesh, creating these muscular cuts. And it's a fight against the ego, and we're increasing our vibration. And what is God? God is the highest form of vibration. So God created this freaking world so beautifully and perfectly. He's literally telling us what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to look like. I mean, a healthy body vibrates higher and we become more attractive because our energy is higher.
Yeah.
And that is, our sole purpose, to increase our energy, man, so that we can give that energy to others, you know?
That's something I
Um,
realized too when I was younger. When I was really working out, I was like on top of the world. I didn't realize that I was actually training spiritually, but then because I was living only, my operating system wasn't up to date. It was based off validation. So I'm getting all this
yeah.
validation, not realizing that it's actually I'm going in. It's the shift from validation to truly loving yourself. And I know that sounds because if I heard that from somebody else saying that in a podcast, I'd be like, all right, that's kind of, but it really is that. You know, when you're, and
Yeah,
that's why what I cut you off earlier before what you said, where it's like special, right? It's the shift from your shining light. There's a quote in the Bible that says, "Let not the left hand know what the right hand is doing." When you operate from that place, you're not doing one thing for another thing. You know, like you're not saying, "Well, I'm going to get this, so then I can get this." You're literally doing you're only operating towards God, which is consciousness, which is vibration. You give the devil its due. This is something that I've been reflecting on, right? Because when I speak about porn, for example, when I give advice to other men, it's like you don't want to fight yourself because the devil loves fighting. The devil loves when you're fighting yourself because that's, it keeps you, at least for me, in my experience, you oscillate between shame and guilt and pride. So, yeah, I'm pride. I'm going to go through these phases. I'm going to get jacked. I'm going to get attention. And then I would drop down because I realized there's somebody else who's more jacked. There's someone else who has more money. And then I would go, okay, I would hide, right? And I would get stuck in this trap. And then the way to break out of that, I think is courage. It's by not falling into that trap of the world. It's giving up the world, giving up the need to be liked, giving up the need to, hey, if I have a great body, great. But if that gets taken away from me, great. And really mean that, because it's another thing. If people can
yeah,
say that, but when you're really in those down moments, that's really what reveals character. That's why I like what you said with the fact that you're fasting, you're not telling anybody, because that's endurance, right? To hold conversations when you're you're drained out of your energy, but you're still going to give to other people. That to me is real growth, right? Versus the virtue signal. Look how nice I am. I'm doing nice things for other people. Try fasting
yeah,
for 30 days, like Alex, and seeing how that's real. You're going to find more spiritual growth in that. But I want to stay on that just for a second because, like, how did you progress to that? Because and disclaimer, this is not medical advice, right? You know, don't
yeah.
just do this because Alex is saying this on this podcast, but you know, how was your experience with? Did you start with one day? What did you transition to? And how did you break the fast?
Yeah,
What were you? Was it just water? Was it broth? Was it? Go into that a little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
more.
So I basically just did water fasts. My mindset, I was like, man, if I add electrolytes and all this, it's gonna make it more complicated and possibly set myself up for failure. But my fast started off with maybe a 1 day, then I did a 3 day, um, then eventually a 4 day, and then I just decided to keep pushing myself. From I attempted initially to do a 40 day, but like I did a Daniel fast. A Daniel fast is just veggies and fruit. I did that for about 7 days. That was super tough, man. Just veggies and fruit is super tough.
Why?
Um, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just all
Like, what
fasting
was
is
your
tough.
what was your experience with that?
My experience was you get excited that you get to eat something at least, right? Like fruit, nuts, veggies. But still, man, after 7 days of that, your body is just like craving some sort of carbs or meat.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, man, a lot of the things that I've done, like the long fast, man, they've all come from signs, spiritual signs, man. I believe it, dude. I remember the day that I decided to go on my 21-day fast or the 40-day fast that was like part Daniel fast and then the 21-day. It was the day that I went outside in a winter jacket. It was cold as shit out. And my jacket sleeve got caught on the door handle on my way out of the building and it ripped. It was my only winter jacket. I didn't have the money to buy another winter jacket. So in my mind, I'm thinking, damn, this is my only winter jacket. I'm gonna go to throughout the winter without a jacket. That same night, I meet up my friend at a quick shot just to talk. And she just so happens, we started talking about, she did a 40-day fast as well one day. And we're talking about fasting, this and that. And then she just so happens to present me with a gift from her job that she worked at, TJ Maxx. And the gift was of a winter jacket on that same night. And I was like, no way, this is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that is
I
crazy.
got into my car and I put the two and two together, the winter jacket, the conversation, the 40-day fast. And I saw that as my spiritual calling, my sign. Like, all right, I'm going to go on a long ass fast, 40-day fast. I initially started as a 7-day Daniel fast.
What is the Daniel
And
fast?
The Daniel fast is just veggies and fruit. It's a real story
Okay.
in the Bible. Daniel, uh, he went on this 21-day Daniel fast, actually 21-day Daniel fast, where he would just eat veggies and fruit, and from there he got these visions and callings from God, directions from God. Yo, fasting is uh has been, a lot of it, a lot of the great, like the 40 commandments, the 10 commandments. Moses was on a 40-day fast of no water and no food. After that fast is when he was given the directions and the instruction to write the 10 commandments.
Mm,
Stephen Arnio was a big time faster. Remember, Stephen Arnio, who
yeah.
wrote Hard Times. So he was a big time faster. Man, a lot of great works and revelation comes from fasting.
Shout out.
Yeah, it's a great book, man. What a book. That book is a masterpiece, dude. But yo, man, I just, I think you just gotta be open minded. You guys see the signs, man. God talks to us, man. God talks to us in many ways, many signs, and you just gotta be willing to see it. And then the hardest part is you gotta be willing to make the decision to go for it.
Yeah.
And when you do, it could be tough as hell, man. It'll be scary, it'll hurt, but it is there where you'll get the greatest wisdom of all. And it's that wisdom that could truly help us and help other people in their lives.
Yeah. And for people who are, again, I try to speak to my younger self because that to me is who I'm hungry to speak for. People who are kind of like, I guess, agnostic or even atheist, really anybody who,
Yeah.
who's like, every time I hear the G word, it's just like, oh God, here we go. God, 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 right? Because
Yeah.
I want to be the person who I was looking for, right?
Hmm.
Because I didn't have anybody who was able to bridge that gap. I think very few people are able to bridge the gap. To me, that's what makes a holy person, someone who's reconciled their opposites, right? Because we have that animal, egotistical, you know, that part of us that just it's me, 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 me. And when you get so sucked in that, you can't even see it. Become blind to it. At least that's where I was at. So to me, it's like with when I hear you say that, it's like you really do get signals, man. When you really deny yourself, and that's a form of denying yourself going into the fast, you start to see how much of an animal you are, how much you're in the world, and
Mm.
that rebirth is to be in that world and not of it is not easy, especially if you've been so in the world. It's crazy to realize that God is just truth. To me, God is truth. We've heard
Yeah.
that before, right?
And that truth is revealed when you face your shit.
Yeah,
That
man.
truth is revealed. And I think it's because every fear that we have, every insecurity, every hole, every sin or mistake, that's all ego based. That's not who we truly are. But we can't find out who we truly are until we dive into that. It's facing that where we realize, holy shit, I'm not this. I'm something much more. So
Yeah, and
um
having that love of the Father, right? When I think of Christ, forgive them, they know not what they do. That shit always stood out to me. I mean, forgive them. Yeah, I think about relationships I've had in my life, I have
that's
now,
powerful, man. That's
bro.
powerful.
Like
God
really,
forgave. I mean, Jesus forgiving people that were,
yeah, because that to
dude,
me
that
is,
is love, bro.
bro, straight up.
Wow. Can you
Because
imagine that? That,
I
dude.
I get goosebumps every time because when you really think about it, that's what the love of, and I think that's what like a real priest is, a real monk, someone who really has deep compassion for you, right? The idea of like the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Christ, when he says, "I and the Father are one," right? It's a balance between that mind, the logos, the logical world, the pattern, the paternal, the father, right? The father judgment, because we should feel shame and guilt when we're not in alignment. We should feel that
Absolutely.
and what we're trying to do is create a shameless world, a guilt-free world. That exists, but you have to face it. You have to take responsibility. And that heart mind is that when you look at other people who are sinning, right? I constantly think of the idea of like when somebody says, I'm praying for you. I'm a Christian. I'll be praying for you. I hope you change. You can always sense there's this kind of like ego, I've heard it from people when they say it from that vibration, like, I'll pray for you. I hope you're saved. But it's coming from like, I know more than you versus I, it's almost like the words that come out will speak for themselves. That power of that presence is just like when you realize people are sinning, when you really understand your own sin, the right words come in the right way that it's like, brother, sister, you're on the wrong path. And you're not coming from judging. You find the balance of what they need to hear. You're not judging, but in other words, some people need a hug and some people need a wake up call. They need a reality check. They need to be called out on their bullshit. And having that balance between it's like you're giving a hug and you're calling out bullshit in their life. You're calling out the
Yeah,
shit in their life. And I think you only have the authority to do that when as you go inside yourself, you remove the log from your own eye so you can call it out on other
mm,
people. We need to call other people out on their sickness. We're sick. We're one big sick body. And as we go within, as Alex went within, that's that meditation, those signals come in, you go, okay, I'm growing in love, like true love, not Hollywood version love, where it picks you up, it throws you down, your validation comes from another person. It's coming from God. And I think this is a man's responsibility in life. I don't think this is a woman's responsibility. I think the woman's responsibility is, that first of all, the pain of childbirth and that bond, that emotional bond that a woman has, man, it's not in our nature. And I think that, I resonate with the yin and the yang, as far as that
yeah,
we have that feminine aspect of us, right? I think it's important for a man to get in tune with his emotions, but I think that paradigm has become so inverted that men are living in their emotions. They're not going into the other
yeah.
part of that
You
big
gotta
part, which is discipline, respect, honor, integrity. Not to say that women are not
focus.
integrous, but we are called to be leaders.
Absolutely. I think the the connection between male and female in the physical world is similar to the male and female in the spiritual world. I believe we have our conscious thoughts, which are the male aspect of consciousness, and then we have our subconscious thoughts, which is the female. The male is the seed, the female brings it to life. The seed plants this into the soil, the female brings it to life. And it's the same thing with our mind and our emotions. Our mind or Christ consciousness is the word, and the emotions, the energy in motion is the Holy Spirit or the female aspect of consciousness. It is said that the emotions are centered in our belly, which is why fasting is so popular in the Bible. Because when we fast, we tap deeper into the intuition, into the emotion of our belly. And with the connection of the female, of the emotion of the Holy Spirit in our belly, and our mind, the male or the Christ consciousness, male and female, we can create life in the spiritual world and as well in the physical world. Man and women come together, they create life. It's the same thing in the spiritual world. God is trying to teach us, which is why in the Bible it talks about talks about infidelity and this and that, because if you do it in the physical world, you're doing it in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
You are cheating your dreams. Imagine if you have a dream, right? And you really believe in it. You're going for your dream, but then all of a sudden this other dream distracts you, and all of a sudden you start cheating on the dream of your purpose for a dream of something that's distracting you from your purpose. God doesn't want that, man, because God needs you to live your purpose. God needs you to help him expand the universe. He sent you here to expand the universe, to increase the light, to help other people in the world. But if you're not focused on your purpose and your mission, you ain't helping anybody. You're slowing them down. You're slowing down the purpose of the
Yeah,
universe
what
and
is
of
what is
God.
our mission? It's when we have those moments when we're in flow state with other people, where we're truly expressing ourselves and we inspire other people to do that, when we're singing or dancing or whatever it is, and not to get all hippie, but when we're in that flow, you know it when you're around. You know when you're fired up from other people. You know that when you're
Yeah,
when you
bro.
make other people feel truly good, because joy is what we really want. Spontaneity, freshness, not happiness. Happiness, I can just say, I can compliment you, Alex, and that makes it makes your ego feel good. But joy is what I have from this conversation. Truly, truly, like I love, like we're talking about like growing. We're talking about this is what it's like having a childlike wonder. Like, hey, you did fasting. What worked for you? What did, what was your failures? What were your wins? How can I take the information that you're giving me and put that into my life and say, hey, you know what? I didn't experience the same thing, and just feedback, resonance, right? But it sacrificed the pride for that.
And you know what, Mike? You mentioned earlier how we as a society are like, you know, uh, don't know this information. And the reason why I believe is because it's not by accident. We've been programmed, we've been raised to not know our entire truth and capabilities, man. Like the rulers of this world know our true power. They know what we're capable of. And they've designed it so that we wouldn't learn it. We wouldn't learn the power of our thinking, of our emotions, of our imagination. We wouldn't know the power of sex, like the true meaning of sex and the
Yeah.
power of its creation, more than just life, but also actually building an amazing life. Like that sex energy between you and a wife is
Bro.
freaking heavenly, dude.
Yeah.
Heavenly.
Yeah, that's why the porn industry is what it is. I say the sex. I mean, this has been coming to me. This is just like this. The sex sense is the sixth sense, right? And that's something that's very scary. It's a scary thing, right? Because the reason I say scary is because it's an act of creation. Which, if you surrender the sex energy, the sixth sense, right? And when I say surrender, is that you realize that when you understand the power of sex, that you can really take advantage of that. I think with the laws of polarity, for example, when I'm really in that sexual charge, that's another, I think, an aspect of discipline that really becomes important, right? Because when I have all the attention, I have all the respect, I have all that, and I'm getting attention from my opposite, I'm called to not just use that blindly, right? And that's difficult, right? Especially, again, that's why I said that earlier, because it's difficult as a young man. I'm getting all this attention. I have all this sexual energy,
it's not easy, man.
and then it just like I would give in. Not give in where it was because I didn't see the bigger picture. I didn't realize that no, I'm supposed to double down and harness that energy, and then it's like that's the creative process. That's that explosive energy, right? When you finally, and that's the idea of waiting for marriage before sex, and it's not. Everybody's story is different. I heard recently in a podcast, there's people who have no sex before marriage. They get married, they get divorced, right?
That would be tough to do, man. I would love to try that, but it's almost like, wow, that's like truly a leap of faith.
Yeah, and that's
what I mean?
This is my journey, right?
Yeah, bro.
So because I was stuck in porn for 15 years. So it's like now I'm going this path and I'm trying to also do it where it's not like you have to do this, you have to do it that way. Don't follow me. Just like but when you understand that, like when when you're with someone who you want to be with for the rest of your life, I think that's really the most important thing. But that's why I said before is that what we've done as a society is separated the feeling with the act of creation and the responsibility of having a child. Elliot Holst, he had said, I don't know if he had said it on our retreat, but he had said, be married or be a monk. I really like that because when you're married, the purpose of marriage is to have a family. And that responsibility of raising a child, you have two kids, raising a child, right? You have two kids, right?
Yeah.
Raising those children, that requires discipline. That requires you to be the example you want to set for your children, right? And that requires a lot of responsibility because they're going to seek the person that they love in you, right? So when it comes time for them to get married, they're going to seek your example. So if that forces you have to, right? Because you want that for your children. And if you don't have that, then I think you see a lot of these people who are influencing our culture today, where they're just like, oh, you can have sex and just throw it around, and and they can give advice. That's why I say the red pill. The red pill is you see a lot of these red pill guys, and they're giving advice on how to get laid. And you know what? They're right. If you follow what they say, you'll get laid, make money, get in shape, do that stuff. You'll get laid because most guys are kind of weak little pushovers. So they're giving a higher awareness, but even higher than that is courage. Even higher than that is discipline. You know, it takes a lot of courage to. I think of Gladiator. You seen Gladiator?
Yeah.
He could have slept with that princess if he wanted, or whatever. The she was the attractive woman in that movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She wanted him, man. He was that warrior. He was disciplined. He was honorable. And what did he do? He said no. He did the right thing because at that time it would have been the wrong thing. What happens at the end
She
of the
was
movie?
married, right?
Um,
She,
yeah, I want
was
to
she
say
married to the
that
king?
she was married. I think she lost her husband. I don't remember the exacts, but what ended up happening is they ended up making out towards the end of the movie
Okay, so
because
she was a good lady then. She
yeah,
was like, she was one of, she was, okay. I don't
yeah,
remember it, but so
yeah.
she
Give it a
denied,
watch, bro.
he didn't sleep with her, but and then in the end, he made out with her. Like,
Yeah, and it
he
happened in the
put
right way.
purpose before pleasure, it seems like.
Correct. Yes, that's it. You know, and that's
Yo,
where
man.
and
And that's what
it's
God wants us to do.
yeah,
God, bro, purpose before pleasure, man. God, your mission before pleasure. And if you do that, God will give you the greatest pleasure of all.
correct,
Because you
bro. That's the
because
thing.
he knows, okay, this man is on a path, he's focused and he's disciplined. Now I am going to send him someone amazing to help inspire him even more, to help energize him even more, because I know he's focused on the path. But if it's the other way around, if you're focused on the pleasure first on females and you're not on your purpose, boom, God's gonna punish you, man. He's gonna wake you up somehow. Say, yo, this is not the way. This is not the way. He's gonna bring some pain. He's gonna bring that feeling of shame, guilt, whatever it is, which is a good thing, right? That's our guidance system,
Yes.
those negative feelings telling us, whoa, this isn't the way to go. We're going the wrong way. Okay, start doing this, start doing that, feeling good, feeling good. Start going for God, which will be greater pleasure than actual sex. I remember on the day I was on that boat, about to jump off, feeling all types of fear, but at the same time, so much pleasure from being me, and and the courage that was battling against that fear, man. I was so alive. I was so in my purpose, dude, doing something crazy, extreme, something that was a vision that came to me, man. I was living my life, dude. That right there is the greatest pleasure, bro. And then from there, bro, man, everything else is just icing on the cake, man. But that's what we as men want to get to in our own unique ways. You want to find your path where you find the greatest pleasure doing your thing, what comes from you, your vision, your heart, your mind, whatever that is, man. That is the greatest freaking pleasure, bro. But to get there, we got to freaking sacrifice worldly pleasure. I had to sacrifice my job, right? I had to sacrifice the fear of my chest that eventually led me to becoming that guy on a boat doing all these crazy stunts, jumping out of an airplane naked, freaking jumping out of a boat in the middle of
What?
Hudson
That's
River,
I don't
freaking.
jumping out of an airplane naked?
Yeah, bro, that was one of my first videos, man. I went to skydive the ranch in New Jersey. Man, I just had this idea of jumping out shirtless. I was talking to my boys, like, yeah, I'm gonna jump out in my underwear. And he's like, oh yeah, my boy did that. And once I said, oh, somebody else did that, damn, I gotta do it different then. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try to do it naked. I show up to the place. It's called Free Fall Adventures. I show up, and here's the thing: everyone's telling me, "No, Alex, you can't do that. They're not going to let you. They're not going to let you." But in my mind, I believe I could do it. I say, I'll find a way. I'll make a way." A simple question to the lady when I'm signing up. I made this long ass 2 hour drive. I said, "Hey, is it possible if I jump out naked?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Boom, piece of cake, done. I get to the warm up stage in the hangar where the airplane is and all the other divers are, and I get placed in a group of like 6 other people. 4 of those people are ladies. So I'm letting them know ahead of time, listen, I'm gonna do this naked. And so I'm there in my shorts practicing, jumping and stuff. And eventually we get to the edge of the plane. And I have a video of this too. We get to that, which is today Thursday? No, it's Wednesday. Maybe I'll post
Yeah.
it tomorrow for Throwback Thursday. But I get to the plane going up the stairs, And all of a sudden, the guy that I'm jumping with, tandem jump, he's like, "All right, man, if you're gonna do it naked, now's the time to take off your shorts." Took my shorts off, gave them to the guy. He puts them in his pocket, and there I'm freaking climbing into the airplane, freaking butt naked, dude.
Yeah.
And I sit down, and then like halfway up the trip, one of the ladies yelled out, "Hey, are you doing it naked?" I'm like, "Yeah." We're like, "Well, thank you for at least looking good." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." But bro, I tell you, man, it was a freak. So I jump out of the plane, this guy, and bro, it was one of the coldest days ever. I never felt so much shrinkage in my life and freaking self consciousness. But at the same time, it was just freaking crazy. I landed on the ground. I told the camera guy, keep the camera rolling. I started giving a motivational speech, man. I was like, yo, you got to face the hole in your life. There's the gift, butt naked, coming from, with a parachute attached to me, man. And I was like one of those, that was me living my purpose, guys. That was me being free, man. That was after I faced the fear of my chest, which I did at my high school reunion, man. When you face your biggest fear, man, you realize you're so much more. You realize all that fear is ego based. When you get that out of the way, you truly discover who you are and you free yourself and you see all the possibilities and the opportunities that you have and that you can truly do whatever it is your heart is calling you to do, man. And you come to life, man. And that's when these visions started coming to me.
Yeah. Yeah, well said, man. I mean, I think stepping out of your comfort zone is really the whole thing, and it's I heard a quote that says, courage, it's from a movie. Courage is the thing you get after you do the thing you're afraid of, right? So when I hear that, it's like naked, it's like it just who does that, right? Like it's you get to that place where do that thing that you're afraid to do. Go talk to that person. Go for that. Go be an entrepreneur. Do that. It requires work. It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. But get into that place where you're, you know, nobody can use fear to control you. You know, and that's a really difficult place to get to.
Yeah,
You,
bro. Yeah, yeah,
I wanted to talk about. I had, I'll wrap this up shortly, but we spoke
yeah.
different versions of the Bible. I have this
Mm,
written down here.
hmm.
Go into what you were speaking on because King James version, all these different versions. I think it ties in also with the
Yeah.
black pill. I truly believe that with all the 2020 and the lockdowns and the lies and the division pushing this country,
Hmm.
I took the negative, flipped it into a positive. I made this channel. I connected with people because I believe in humanity. I believe in the will of the people, and I think it's going to be hard. I think we have, like you said before, we got a long road ahead. We got a lot of difficulties ahead of us, but I truly do believe if God is for us, who can be against us? And I hope to continue to feed that.
Yeah, bro.
And again, for people who are not religious, if truth is for us, if truth, whatever brought us here, has our back, whatever we go through, we'll be able to endure it as long as we continue to focus on the truth. And we'll have those weekdays. And I'm not saying you're going to just be like on cloud nine. That's not what it is. So you read some of these stories in the Bible, trials and tribulations that people go through are difficult, man. We're not alone in that. People may act like they have it all figured out. Let me tell you something. People don't have it all figured out. We're all kind of growing along the way. And the few people who do have it figured out, you'll know when you meet them. They're humble. They're real people. But the black pill, the idea of, I think the Bible is a tool. I think the answers are really in your heart. And as Alex says, that when you really start seeking, either you seek or you're going to seek the world, and you know what? The world won't fulfill you. Eventually, at some point, some way, you can be sitting at home by yourself. You don't have the life you want. You don't have the real love that you really deep down want. That's when you start to pay attention. So, the what have you? Does that resonate with you that God is within our heart? Because I don't think you need the Bible, but I also think that the Bible is a tool that if people really understood what it was, it's similar to church. You can go to church and if you put in what you put into church, you can get out. So if you go into church and you're looking to meet people and you're looking to be proactive and you connect with people and you're there for people and you really put it in, you can get a lot out of it. But if you just go to church saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to church and now I'm going to be a good Christian," you're going to get exactly that. You're going to have resentment and be like, "Oh, whatever." Same thing with the Bible. If you read the Bible with an open mind and you really connect and say, "Okay, let me see," there's historical context and there's metaphors that are deeper than that, you're really going to gain a lot. And you look at it with naked. You don't just take everything so literally. You're not, but there, and really just let, like I said, watching a movie and letting that come to you.
Yeah,
But at the same time, there is also, who knows how much manipulation has been in the Bible, right? Who
yeah,
knows how
yeah,
much is that?
absolutely.
So what was your experience? You had mentioned King James version. There's different verses. So if you can go into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about, Bibles, and you mentioned you had the King James version, and I said it's my favorite version as well because one time I realized that the King James version isn't the same as the updated versions. There's actually a verse in the King James version that was taken out from the updated versions. And to me, in my mind, it's like there's some, if I believe that, history books have been distorted, like truth, who knows, like who knows what's really real after 2020 now, right? Like I've really opened up my eyes to see how much manipulation we've gone through, how much indoctrination and programming. And so I realized, like, why wouldn't, you know, they want to mess with the Bible either? If the Bible is supposedly one of, the book of truth or guidance, which, I believe it is at my stage, and you have to come to that point on your own, and you feel that with your heart eventually, man. Like everyone has their own journey with finding the Bible. But in any case, I want to share with you the one verse that was taken out of the Bible from the King James Version that's not in the updated version. And it's Matthew 17, 20, 21. And it's when it talks about Jesus taking a demon out of a demon possessed man. And the disciples went to Jesus and said, "Jesus, how come we couldn't do this?" He said, "You fools, with simply the faith of a mustard seed, you could tell a mountain to move and it will move." And now here comes the part that was taken out. Jesus said after that, he said, "But howbeit, some of these miracles can only happen through prayer and fasting." They took out the part that said fasting. Did you know that? So, in my opinion, when I see that, I think, did they take that out because they realize how powerful fasting can be in connection with prayer and being able to create miracles in your life and to manifest or to get out evil? Now, if I was some, evil corporation or, uh, Satanist and I didn't want people to know the truth, I would take that out. And what if people think, all right, all I need is the faith of a mustard seed and I can create this miracle? But what if they're missing part of the
Yeah.
formula? What if only some of these miracles could happen by fasting, but it's not in there? So people are there, "Oh, I got the faith. I got the faith of a mustard seed. I got the faith of a mustard seed. But I just ate a whole 2-hour meal of a buffet after church. Oh, why is it not happening?" It could be because they're missing a huge part of the verse, fasting. Man, fasting has the power to cure cancer, has the power to cure a lot of things. And the reason why they don't really talk about it in the mainstream media is because it's free, So that's what I wanted to.
Well, that's really the human condition. That's what I was saying before, too,
When I
right?
said my favorite book so far is the King James Version
Yeah.
because it has that verse in it, man.
Going back, the idea of, the human condition of really, when you get power, influence, when you get to that point where, you, there are leaders who are in power who they really do give back to the people. They believe in the people. And then there's people who get power and they want it for themselves. And we see that in society. I believe government reflects the people. So if you have, as Carlin once said, if you have dumb, ignorant citizens, you're going to have dumb, ignorant politicians, something along those lines. So we are a reflection of
Mm,
each other. So the reason I bring that up is because the new paradigm needs to be we all win. When I win, the people around me win and I want them to win more. And I think that comes from that understanding that the way Alex wins, it's not going to be the same way Michael wins. And, but it does rhyme. It does rhyme. So, and I think that that's really where the
Mm,
true power is, where it is as I shine, right? Let not the left hand know what the right hand is doing. It's a very narrow path because if I go just a little this way, it's power. If I could go just a little bit this way, it's weakness, right? I'm like shying away and not being my best self, right? And then it's just like, and I think this is where the whole communism thing comes in. Well, I don't want to outshine anybody, or I'm going to outshine everybody, right? And you create these two polarizing worlds. You have weak America, and you have I'm strong America, and then you have left, you have versus right, you have man versus woman, you have feminists versus I would say masochists because there's a lot of people who are just like I'm alpha alpha alpha, right? Versus when you're shining, you are that which you are, and it's a hard place to get to. And I think that's why a lot of people who are in power, they see a lot of idiots, and I think a lot of us have been idiots for a long time. And I think that when we take responsibility, we grow. When we shine, I also think we shine light on those who are up, like who are upstairs, who are also going through that same battle. People who are
uh,
billionaires, people who have that influence. I'm not saying that they're all like pure, they're evil, but the way that we fix evil is by shining. We have to own our own hypocrisy, and
yeah.
I think we're both
I
doing
think,
that.
yeah, absolutely, man. And I think one of the hardest parts about that is that when you shine and when you decide to shine, one of the hardest parts is that shining through the negativity that also arises.
Go into
Because
that.
when you shine in your positive light through the natural laws of balance, man, negative energy, darkness is going to increase and it's going to come against you. And I believe that needs to happen. I mean, that's just like the way it may work. Like you increase your light, okay, negative energy, dark energy doesn't like that. So it's going to try to combat you and throw more, criticism, hate your way, try to make you look bad. It says it plenty of times in the Bible too. But I think that's one of the hardest parts. So for example, remember that boat picture there, man? Like I said, I was living my highest potential on that day, dude. And when I was vibrating at my highest, 2 days later, that news story came out. I mean, they
Mm,
interviewed me about it, bro. They said, "Oh, I told them, oh man, can you hook me up with my website so I can sell some T-shirts, this and that." They made it seem like it was going to be a positive story, bro. It ended up being a negative story, and it was negative energy. I was at my highest potential there, man. My highest energy, greatest joy, true passion, fearlessness, and I was confronted with the exact amount of negative energy. And it was so much negative energy the following days that it really took a toll on my mind. And it brought me down, dude. It brought me down to depression, fucking being afraid of my purpose. I
yeah,
couldn't make a
I
crazy
can relate.
video like that again, bro. I felt shame. My family was embarrassed. I embarrassed myself. I embarrassed my
Mm,
wife. Bro, my friends were like I was the talk of the town, dude. I'm still known as in some areas as the guy that jumped out of the boat, bro. It just brought so much negative energy. And one of my best pieces of advice if I could offer to anyone is, man, when you shine in your light, man, be ready for that energy. Be ready for that negative energy that's gonna try to bring you down, dude. Ignore that shit, man. Keep freaking going, dude. Keep turning into a positive and don't let them control or dictate who you are and what you did. You can control that, man. And just keep moving forward. Have a great group of guys around you. You got to keep moving. But dude, to the path to enlightenment, it's not easy, man. It's a lot of negative energy, and dark energy is going to be trying to bring you down and grab you back down. But here's the positive out of that I took out of that depression and low state. If it wasn't for that low time, that low state, that feeling of depression, suicidal thoughts, I couldn't tackle my purpose anymore. It wouldn't have led me to an even darker part of myself. Because of that depression, it led me to ask, damn, what do I do to get out of this? And I came to a book that was called The Celestine Prophecy, and it said, face the fears of your parents. If they didn't face their fears, they're going to pass it down to you. And so I started realizing, okay, I'm going to face my parents' fears, whatever it was. I went to meditate on a mountain. And within 2 minutes, I realized what my biggest fear was of my father's. My father was afraid of letting my mother go. I saw my dad, you know, just verbally abuse my mother, and like it was the most traumatic way as a kid to grow up, man. Like to see my mother in so much pain and suffering every time that I saw them together, dude. I would never want that on anyone else. And so I realized right then and there, I was like, oh my gosh, I have something similar to my dad because I'm afraid of letting my wife go. And I would never want to do to my wife what I feel my dad did to my mother. I didn't want to keep her trapped. She was still young, early 30s. I had two kids with her, and I also didn't want to pass down whatever fears I didn't face to my kids. So the point is, I ended up realizing that I had to follow my own advice of jumping out the boat to go deeper and face this darker hole of my infidelity. And so if it wasn't for that failure, I wouldn't have been in such a deep ass hole to question myself, how do I get out of this? To face an even darker hole. I wouldn't have found that. What if I would have just kept being successful off of videos like this, right? Like maybe I would have never had the opportunity to face my hole of infidelity and sexual sin. And maybe I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to create videos to help other men that were potentially thinking about ending themselves because they went through the same thing, because I never talked about it, or I never faced it or brought it to the light, or felt that pain from divorce and facing the shame of infidelity. So I'm thankful for that dark energy that brought me down because it forced me to face an even deeper hole and have an even higher purpose.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stands out to me the most out of that, again, it is that darkness. It really, because when you go into that, when you start really going into that, I think one of, at least in my own experience, that you realize that when you step into that, a lot of people are not going to, they're still going to live in fear. And they're going to, the people that you think are really, who really are in your life, you find, like I said earlier, you find out who the people are in your life who are the real ones and who aren't. I started this podcast off by talking about grounding camp and what that was. And in 2020, I saw so many lies, so many people being manipulated. I saw my own sin. I saw how the outer world, the chaotic world, was a reflection of, in part my own inner world. And
Yeah,
how,
yeah,
when I saw, I mean, everybody afraid, wearing a mask. And I don't think that the mask is just, it's literal. I think it was metaphorical. We're all wearing our masks metaphorically. We're all
right.
pretending we're
Covering the
something we're
voice,
not.
the word.
Yeah. And I think the symbolic world is very reflective of how we are in the world, and how we all pretend to be one person for one person, another for another. And people were afraid to speak truth because what if I lose this? What if I lose that?
Yeah,
What if I lose? And I get it. I do get it. People didn't want to
yeah,
lose their
absolutely.
jobs. People didn't want to speak up because at what cost? And, as voices like Elliot and voices like you, meeting you there, that it's like, you guys are speaking. We are in a very small group of people. And I think of the quote, um, I forgot who it was. Was it Mark Twain? I think it was Mark Twain. The patriot is a scarce man. And that I
Mm.
don't remember the exact quote, but he's a scarce man. And when he steps up, that, he invites others to step up, and I see that in more and more people every single day. And
Yeah,
let me get that quote perfect. Just if you
it's
wanted
a
to
great
speak
thing.
on that, just the picture I wanted to show you to end this, and
Yeah,
I want to get that exact quote.
yeah.
But does that resonate with you? And kind of,
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it's because of that fear and negative energy that we're afraid to speak that truth, man. We're afraid of facing the pain of the ego But that's exactly what we got to face to ascend, man, to realize, like it's not easy to face, the uh to try to increase our light and to try to, like speak truth against evil because evil is going to punish us. But it doesn't punish us. It doesn't lock us down. It only locks down and punishes our ego. That's the only thing that hurts. But once we learn to realize we're not the ego and we are not of the world. Let's say, how's it going? We're in the world, but not
but
of
not
the
of
world.
it.
Like
Yeah.
once we realize that, that's where the beauty comes, man. But it's not easy, man. That dark energy is not easy to face. But yeah, the Bible talks about that all the time. Jesus says all the time, yeah, people are gonna say the truth is a lie. People are gonna try to make good people look like bad people. Look at Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate speaking nothing but truth right now. And guess what? They're trying to imprison him, man. So the question is, are you willing to be courageous enough to speak that truth, man, and to like sacrifice yourself, cru- do the things that would potentially get you crucified like Jesus does, which would be eventually the greatest form of love to the world. To
Yeah.
love is the greatest sacrifice.
It's funny you bring up Tate because yeah, I've been trying to find my words to speak on, the stuff that because he's obviously all over the internet, right? So,
It's killing
and
it.
I think because I wanted to speak on this, I think one of the things that people have to do is to separate the truth from the person. What I mean by that is that if you put your faith in a person, they're going to let you down. And what I mean by that specifically is don't listen to Alex. Don't listen to Michael. Don't listen to Tate. Don't listen to Jordan Peterson. Don't listen to Elliot Hulse. Don't listen to Gandhi. Don't listen to Martin Luther King. Listen to them. Listen to the truth that resonates with you. When I listen to Tate, I see someone who's saying to other men, take responsibility, take ownership, be the best version of yourself you can be. Stop watching porn. Stop playing video games, playing the video game of life. If you're against that, I mean, you're a fool. Now, anybody can dig dirt on anybody. Anybody can. You can dig dirt on my life. You'll find dirt in my life. And one of my missions, again, is sharing that dirt with other people and sharing that, hey, you know what? I think that's where the idea of we're forgiven. Because if we go back to our younger selves, we realize that the mistakes we made was from a lower sense of consciousness. If we could go back, how many things would we do differently? Right? We would do things differently. And then at the same time, the paradox of that is if we didn't learn that experience, maybe that is exactly what we needed. We needed to screw up and we needed to do that, And I think that people need to have that same view with the things that Andrew Tate is talking about or other people is that people just want to worship Tate. And I think that if Tate was listening to this right now, he would say, be your own man, step into the arena. And he is saying that,
Yeah,
because I think it's so easy for people to lose their identity in a person. Be your own man. Challenge his
yeah,
ideas. He's around men who are challenging his ideas. That's why he's the man he is. That's why he
absolutely.
has so many people in his corner. I think for me, it's easy. I voted for Trump, right? I went through a phase where I'm like, yeah, I really like the dude. And but I realized it becomes like a Trump worship. And I think if Trump really loves this country, he wants men to stop. He wants people to challenge him too. So stop worshiping people, and separate the
Mm.
person from that. And don't be so quick to judge. Now there's news coming out with him, and it's like everybody wants to attack him. And then you see Greta Thunberg and him. Stop focusing on that and take the messages that are good and put them into practice. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Does that resonate with you?
yeah, absolutely, man. I think, the greatest, no book, no seminar, no influencer is going to change your life. You can get knowledge from books, but the greatest knowledge or wisdom that you will get is from your own action, and you can't, be idolizing other people. You can take things from them, but if you idolize other people, man, you forget about yourself. And you're here to discover you and to give you to the world. The more you idolize others and you don't take any action, the less you do in that, man. You got to take your own action, find your own wisdom. Man, if you could take anything from my story, from jump out the boat, that's great, but do your own thing, take your own action, face your own holes, and you're going to find your own story that's going to inspire others, that's going to help others. You're going to discover your own wisdom in your own way. You know what I mean? Like your own painting, your own book, your own podcast. That's where the greatest life truly is. But if you stay stuck idolizing other gods and not idolizing the true God that's within, um, we can't help the universe, you know?
Yeah. And the same goes for people who are the haters too. It's so easy to hate somebody who's in the arena. It makes me think of the man in the arena quote. Excellent quote. To be in the arena.
Oh,
I have so much more respect for someone like Tate because he's in the arena.
yeah.
How many
Like
people can
Elon Musk
see?
lately.
Yeah, and you know what?
Someone said that about Elon. My man's in the
I don't know
arena,
anything.
dude.
I don't know Elon personally. I don't know Tate personally. I don't know so I don't know people's motivations. But I tell you what, I'm not going to judge other people unless I'm going to judge myself, and that's what I intend to do. I intend to burn off the weaknesses of myself. I intend to burn off the lies I've told, my own hypocrisy, because I see how the game works. You enter the arena, people want to zoom in on your weaknesses because they haven't overcome their own weaknesses. It's so easy to hate that person. That's the bad guy. Christ is the bad guy, not me. Now I'm not
Yeah.
the bad guy. He's the bad guy. People can watch him be crucified, and he's up there and he's saying, "Forgive them." That's like a power. And I wanted to share this. I wanted to share this with you because I came across this picture last night, and it really spoke to me, and I think it'll speak to other people.
Ooh.
See that? Can you see that
Yeah.
clear?
Yeah, absolutely. The heart
Yeah. So
around.
what I saw a quote recently is it said
Whoa, that's powerful.
yeah, bro. It spoke to my damn heart, man, because when I saw that, I see those thorns in myself. I see those are, and I see that in Christ that the pain that he went through is on such a heart level is that he had such a deep forgiveness for other people, right? But that forgiveness, he was willing to take that on and for the suffering for others. And if you see that in that bleeding heart, it gives birth to other people that through that sacrifice, when you go through the thorn, the repentance, the owning, when you take a responsibility for your own pain, it's really painful because people will hate you, people will persecute you. And out of that though, you're gonna inspire other people, the people who see through
Mhm.
it, because that's what the motivation is to keep going. Is
Yeah.
the other people are going to see that they're going to see through the they're going to see your sacrifice. They're going to see you overcoming, and the flame coming out on the top. That's the rebirth process, right? Through all the pain, through the suffering, you don't complain. You don't cry about it. You use that pain for that positive. What are your thoughts on that picture? Because I just came across that last night. I figured I'd share with you.
I love that picture, man. I see it tells me to go towards my pain. It tells me to, when you feel that pain and you go through that sacrifice, you get the wisdom. I think the blood is the wisdom. So you
Mm,
get wisdom when you face your darkness, when you face your pain, and that wisdom you're able to pass off to the next generation to not repeat the same mistakes and stay on the same level of evolution. The next generation's job is for them to grow past us and then to dive deeper into their own flaws, which are more advanced than ours, so that they may gain wisdom and pass that down to the next generation. The pain we go through in life and the one that we self inflict by facing our own struggles and holes, we get wisdom out of that. Bro, I wouldn't have discovered the wisdom that I've discovered in the past few years if I hadn't faced my infidelity. If I hadn't faced the hole in my chest, I wouldn't have just found that YouTube channel and helped so many younger kids that are 13, 14-year-olds with pectus excavatum to get in shape and to not fear showing their chest and so that they can live life more at a younger age. This is the beauty when it comes to facing your own insecurities, your own holes, your own weaknesses, because out of that pain and suffering, you will get wisdom. And wisdom is perhaps the greatest asset we have. And it is wisdom that King Solomon prayed for,
yeah.
um, that God gave him. And it's because of King Solomon's wisdom that he was able to give others life through his wise ruling. So it's wisdom, man. Jumping out the boat, taking a leap of faith, going towards your egotistical fears. It's gonna suck. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna stand alone. You might lose a relationship. You might get made fun of. You might get laughed at. But out of that, when you discover your other self and a higher wisdom, you're able to give that to others and to give them more life.
Well said. I completely agree with you, brother. There's one last thing I wanted to touch on that I didn't realize, because people who are not on the path for fasting, or like that doesn't really
Yeah,
connect with them yet. You're running. If you can just speak briefly on your running experience, what you've learned in running,
yeah,
and because I
absolutely.
think a lot of people can resonate more with that.
Yeah,
Is, what did you learn? How many miles have you run? What's your experience with that? And then I want to
absolutely.
share where people can find you.
So I know that running is just another form of fasting. Fasting isn't just fasting from food. Fasting is doing something uncomfortable to the ego. Running is being one of them. The way I got into running was I was smoking 8 cigarettes in one morning, driving Uber, bored as hell with my life, depressed, again, going through the divorce process again. And I was like, man, I got to do something with my life. So I said, it's COVID season. I'm going to run a marathon. Even though it's not an official marathon, I'm going to run my own. I parked my car like 12 miles away from home. I ran to my house and then back at night. So I got into running that way. What I realized about running is, so what I realized about running is that running makes your ego uncomfortable. All that pain and burning taps you into your spirit. It gets the negative emotions out. It burns that negative emotion, that negative energy, just like going to the gym. It's another way of fasting. But running is like a meditation. It's a physical meditation. It's tough to sit down and meditate, man. I'm trying to get good at that, but running is another form of meditation which speeds up the process of diving within. As you're running, eventually, after a couple of miles, man, you start thinking of shit. You start thinking of pain. Like your body starts feeling pain. All of a sudden, all these negative thoughts start coming in. Now you have an opportunity to transform those negative thoughts into fuel for your runs. You can transform any pain that you're feeling or that you're remembering from your past or from something you're going through. You can transform that into a positive vision. And when you transform that into a positive vision, it somehow fuels your run even more and you run even deeper. Dude, running is another form of sacrifice to the body. It's another form of putting the body through pain. It's another form of, like, what Jesus Christ did, carrying that cross, man. It's another form of not eating. It's putting the physical body into suffering to tap into your spiritual body, your true self, to use any negative energy to convert it into positive and to do and to calm that negative energy down, man. But other than that, man, that's one of the greatest lessons I've discovered for running. It's a great form of enlightenment. You can become enlightened more through running because you're basically putting the physical body through suffering and increasing your spiritual understanding and awareness and increasing your energy. But other than that, man, like I fell in love with running, man, after realizing how rewarding it is. Like after you run, man, it sucks during the runs. When I first started running, dude, it sucks. Sometimes your knees hurt, you're tired, man, your
Yep.
legs are burning. But never have I once complained after a run. It always feels amazing. And I
I feel
truly
you.
believe it's because you're conquering this negative energy within you, man. And that's the same with working out, Mike. You said you've been working out. You don't do it no more for, girls or whatnot. And I agree with you, man. It is so much better to work out, to run, to do all these things, to discipline the body, the physical body, so that you may increase in your spiritual awareness and power. That's why I work out. Working out is the same thing as fasting. It's another form of fasting. Anything that's uncomfortable for the body is increasing your spiritual awareness.
Yeah, man. Brother, I appreciate this conversation. I think that is absolutely true. When exercise becomes a form of exorcism, right? It's exercise becomes
Wow.
exercise.
Yeah, bro. Whoa. That was
Yeah.
powerful, man.
Yeah, that
Yo.
that came in a couple weeks ago, and that really, I
Yeah,
really
bro.
resonate with that. Brother, where can
Yeah.
people find you?
Instagram. Instagram at A Vivanco 369, man. So it's A Vivanco, Vivanco, and 369. And 369 is my main mission now, man, I'm trying to turn this jump out the boat and fasting and working out and running into a process called 369, which came to me while I was fasting. Three being the give, six being the prayer or the focusing on your vision, and the nine being the fasting. Um, so these three topics, fasting, praying, and giving, are the three most talked about topics in the Bible. And I believe it's all we truly need to tap into our higher selves, see our vision of our higher selves, and to give that to the world. So thank you,
Everybody
Mike.
give him a follow. And I'm confident you found value because I definitely found value in this conversation. Thanks again, Alex.
Mike, thank you very much, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great thing, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.